What's up, YouTube? So welcome back to another segment from our first panel forum on Rainbow Boas. If you liked the last video for how do Rainbow Boas bite, or if you didn't get to check it out here. Also, I'm going to put a link up to watch the full video of the panel. It's over an hour long, so it's pretty lengthy, but you'll be able to see that up here as well. So click either of those links and watch those videos if you haven't seen this. But one of the most common questions we see when someone's just getting into Rainbow Boas is, can I do this as a full-time job, right? We want to breed those Rainbow Boas and we want to at least pay for our hobby because it gets expensive keeping snakes. So when a lot of people start getting new snakes, they say, shoot, I really like this. And since I made a little bit of money, maybe I could drop out of work and do this full time. Well, I asked Dave Colling, who's been doing this for over 30 years, that exact question. And what he has to say is going to be really interesting. So I would definitely listen to every word he has to say if you're considering breeding Rainbow Boas or any snake for that matter. This works for ball pythons, king snakes, retics, anything you're getting into. Without further ado, let's check him out. But if you guys really like this page, I need a favor from you. I need you to like this video. I need you to share it. I need you to comment. Just ask a question, leave anything. Let me know that it's working for you guys if you want me to do more of these panels or if you have ideas for future panels as well. That being said, let's get into it. I want to keep you guys from Dave any longer. Let's listen to what he has to say. So this one, let me ask maybe Dave, and then you guys can fill in on this one too. So I want to quit my job and be a professional snake breeder. What do I do?
Well, number one, don't do it. The reality is, and I see this all the time, people think that they're just going to get into the business and they're going to start producing animals and they're going to make all this money. It just doesn't happen. The reality is, most Rainbow Boas are in the even $200 to $500 range for a typical Rainbow Boa. Well, do the math. How many babies do you have to produce to make a real salary? Not including what it takes and costs you to take care of these animals in the first place, but even just to have that much income, it takes up, hundreds and hundreds of animals. And to be able to do that, you have to have, even at 15 babies a litter, you think about how many females you have to be breeding. And oh, by the way, they take 5 years to get to breeding age. So you can't just do it. If you really want to become a Rainbow Boa breeder, you start out with some small number of animals. Sorry, Stephen, but I'm going to use you as my guinea pig. So he's got a handful, 13 animals. And I was there years ago, and you have a few litters a year, and you start to build on that, and then you have some holdbacks, and then you use some of the money that you use from selling animals to buy different animals from someone else, and then you slowly build that collection. The problem I see more often than not is people go for it. They get 2 dozen animals, and thinking that they're really going to do it, and then 4 years later, when they haven't produced anything, they're burned out, and they stop. The hard part is you've got to slowly build that up into a real business.
So I'm really glad you brought that up, and Stephen, because that's also why I wanted to have you on here. Was I wanted to kind of get that your take on it, because that is something that you're starting.
So certainly, it's funny that Dave says that, because when I saw Dave with Dave's collection, I wanted to be Dave. I wanted to be that big time breeder. And, then I realized, I started acquiring some snakes and I realized, I can make some money in this, but I have a full-time job and I make good money. This is my hobby, and I see a lot in the industry, people just jumping in, looking for adults now. I bought my first 3 snakes from Dave 5 years ago. I haven't bred them yet. It takes time, like he says, to get those collections, to have the first litter, to have your holdbacks. I'm not in a rush. Like I said, this is not making money for me. Eventually, hopefully it'll make some money, but I spent a lot of money in cages, current thermostats, heat, panels, stuff like that. Additionally, the snakes, and to have 30, 40 snakes, I would be over my head. I would be way over my head. I know at I haven't bought a snake in 2 years. I guess I can't. I know I'm going to have babies this year. I'm going to have at least maybe 15 to 20 babies I'm going to have to do something with. that I'm additionally going to have to feed. So, got to think about those things.
I'd like to add a couple things to the points that Stephen made. Having a full-time job, what I do, breeding rainbow boas, is a full-time job, all by itself. There is not enough time to go do another job to make money. So I need to do enough to make the money at the job of breeding rainbow boas enough to make my income. The second thing that I'd really like to add into is the fallacy of thinking you can go out and buy an adult and turn around and start producing babies right away. If you can get lucky enough to find one in your local area, you may be able to turn that animal around to producing babies sooner. The problem with rainbow boas is they are very slow to acclimatize. And if you move one in a couple of time zones, that screws them up for a year or two. If you get a wild-caught adult, people think all the time, I can buy a wild-caught adult and I can start breeding it right away. The reality is, a wild-caught adult came from South America. Its timing is 6 months out of cycle where you're at. It takes them 3 to 5 years to adjust to the new time zone of when summer is, when summer, spring, winter, fall. In that time, you could have gotten a baby and raised it up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know the entire history and have an absolute healthy animal, no wild parasites, none of that stuff. The whole, wild caught, it's great to get some new genes in every once in a while to play with, but the reality is you're not going to do anything. For example, the albino that came in years back, they had, I think, for somewhere around 5 to 7 years before they managed to get it to produce anything, and it was male. So it wasn't even the female having to adjust her reproductive cycle. It was just the male having to adjust his. It took them years to get this adult male to actually produce babies.
That's a great point.
Yeah, super great. Thank you. Does anyone else want to add to that about what it's like to get into business breeding snakes or rainbow boas?
Well, I'll also say we all want to be Dave Colling and do it full time. And I'm poking at you, Dave. We've been friends forever. But you also gotta know that when Dave turned his hobby into a business, his kids were grown, they were out of college, right?
Yep.
Yeah. A lot of the responsibilities of a young adult were not on him. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So you remember me telling, I'm sorry. You remember me, what was it, 5 years ago? I called you, Dave, and I slashed my collection in half because I didn't have enough time to spend with my son. So you got to factor in all of these things when you think about moving to a business. And I'm very glad that it's not my business. It's still a hobby for me. So there's a lot of other things that go into that it's going to be different for each individual person.
And to add to that, I would not be able to do this if it wasn't for the support of my loving wife. She has a full-time job. She has medical benefits. She has all the things that I wouldn't be able to provide myself to be able to do this all on my own.
Excellent points. Wow, there was a lot of really good information in that clip. Guys, Dave's been doing this a really long time, and he shared some really good info about what it takes to get into snake breeding, particularly with rainbow boas. And as you can see from Steve, who's doing it starting out, it's not something you want to dive into head first, right? That's the easiest way to get that burnout and to lose an investment, really, right? And not to mention lose the passion for it. So definitely take that with a grain of salt. use the information that they just gave you there to your advantage, right? These are brilliant guys who've been keeping snakes for a very, 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 very long time. So hopefully that was educational for you guys. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to the channel or check out any of the other videos we've done. There should be links up here. And guys, please leave a comment, like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you enjoyed learning something today.